For quite a long time in my life, I felt that I was on top of the world. I felt I was better than everyone else. I might not have externally shown that or said that in any way, shape, or form, but internally, I definitely felt that. I was basically one of the strongest people in my school. Grades were good. My channel was starting to kick off. I was starting to get some attention from girls. Everything was feeling pretty freaking good. Well, you know what that same feeling caused me? It caused me to grow complacent, to grow comfortable with my situation, and to not want to strive for more growth. Because when I feel that I was on top of the world, I felt that there was nothing else to achieve and nothing else to gain. I felt that what I had was the very peak, everything that a man could ever desire or want. But I was very wrong. And there's something that I know now that I didn't know before. And it's that if you're not going forward, you're going backwards. And going backwards, I was. I lost a lot of the progress I worked for in the past 2 years because for a few months, I decided that it wasn't worth to stay committed to what I wanted, truly wanted deep down. And I went from what I would say was my prime at the time in like September, October in 2023 to being the very lowest I was when it was around like early 2024. And if this story sounds a little familiar in any way, shape, or form, being that you felt that you were greater than people, it's because it is. And that feeling is called pride. Pride is just the excessive love for yourself to the point that you feel that you're greater than anybody and anything. And pride can be a very, very dangerous thing. And I need you to truly understand how dangerous it is. Lucifer, one of God's 3 archangels, basically the right hand of God, a very, very high being in the Bible, saw a glimpse of his own beauty, saw who he truly was and all that he was. He saw that he was great, magnificent, being an angel, an archangel at that, taking care of everything God asked him to do. But that realization of his own beauty slowly turned into pride, and he thought that he was better than God. And he spread that pride to other angels, a third of God's total angels. And so he took the angels that he converted to warfare with God, thinking that he could take over God and take his position. But obviously he couldn't. And so his overconfidence, his pride, led to his very downfall. And after that war, he fell down like thunder towards hell, and he became what we know is the devil, Satan. And to go from an archangel, the very peak, one of the highest positions that one could even hope in the Bible, to the very bottom, the villain, the devil. Even people that don't follow Christianity or don't follow the same religion that I do can understand how big and how dangerous pride and your ego can be. And I know that you can't help but feel prideful sometimes. I understand that. I was in the same situation. Maybe things are actually just that good, where you feel that you're actually on top of the world and nothing can stop you and nothing is better than you. But those moments in life where everything just seems so good, that very, very peak, that high, is a moment that tests you. It questions if you can humble yourself in time to understand that this moment isn't forever and lows will come forward and lows will replace that high. And if you stay on that same feeling, on that pride, you will crumble and you will crash. I can see that much for sure. Now, the big question is, how do you actually deal with pride? Now, pride is a very dangerous thing, but it's not something that's impossible to conquer. And the biggest solution to pride is simply being knowledgeable on the things of this world. Because if you have knowledge and if you're not ignorant of everything else and you understand that you're not the greatest, because that's just a given truth. None of us are the greatest at anything, any given thing. There's always someone greater, even if we think we're the greatest. Someone's out there chasing you, and if you slip up, and just having that idea, that knowledge that people improve, and that you need to improve along with that, is more than enough to take care of pride. You need to have people to compare yourself to, or people that serve as motivators, to always remind you that pride is a bad thing and improvement is something that should be done constantly, forever, throughout the rest of your life. But I'm not saying you should take that comparison to such a high degree where you start depreciating yourself of your own self-worth. The key is finding the balance in between of which side to take at times. It can be confusing with what I've said thus far in my video, you know. Sometimes you gotta depreciate yourself, but sometimes you don't. Two clashing ideas that don't really work together in balance. But I'm not talking about maintaining both at the same time. I'm talking about calling upon one idea at a time. Because at those highs, when you feel really prideful, you don't need to call upon the ideas that make you feel better. No, there's already enough of that. But you gotta realize the opposite, that you gotta call upon humbling yourself and humility. Or maybe you're in a really low point in your life, right? You gotta remind yourself that you're actually better than what this case is, and it's just a really low point. It's just an outlier out of every other situation. Each situation life throws at you demands a different response. And pride is just the same thing. It's a part of life. And it's something you gotta deal with. Maybe sometimes you can get away with it a little bit, but it's never something that should stay around for too long. Because if it stays around for too long, and that feeling of being better and being greater than everything and anything will lead you to your very downfall. But I hope this video helped a little bit for some of you that might be struggling with a problem that I struggle quite often with. You know, a lot of the times I feel very prideful and I have a pretty big ego. I can admit that myself, right? I constantly need to prove myself that I'm better and I want to be better than others. But I understand that wanting to be better than others is not the goal here. It's constant self-improvement and, more importantly, impressing God. That's what I need to truly focus on. And keeping your motives with pure intentions, I think, is also a very key thing here. But besides that, that's about it for me. So I hope you enjoyed this video, and I appreciate you for sticking to the end here. But just stay consistent, stay disciplined, and keep on building that relationship with God so you don't stay prideful. All right? Now give me a kiss.